Take a look.
And so about 81% had a facial match. And by when next slide, when it came to the fingerprint, it was 0. Fundamentally, the NIA fingerprints were taken with contact, whereas what we did with the SIM, with the mobile registration the last time, was contactless. And fundamentally, it would create a challenge as far as matching the two fingerprints are concerned.
The Minister in charge of Communications, Digital Technology and Innovations of the Republic of Ghana, Member of Parliament for the Ningo Pram constituency, Samuel Nate George, is joining us in the studio. Good morning to you, Honorable. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Awiche. Good morning to our viewers and to my co-panelists. It's a pleasure. Ramadan Kareem to everyone and to our Muslim brothers and sisters.
Why do we have to go through this SIM registration again? Why do you want to put us through this stress again?
First and foremost, I would say that I can appreciate the apprehension in the public, especially when you remember what we went through between 2021 and 2023. But I would start by saying that the cues you saw, the difficulties you had in 2021 to 2023 will never happen under this new registration.
It will never happen?
Never happen. It's simply going to be because this process is going to be driven by technology. It's going to be driven by the comfort of the consumer and the convenience that we can offer to the consumer. Is not going to be driven by procurement. That I must state emphatically. If you remember, in September 2021, Professor Ken Atefa issued a statement, a 3-pager, effectively saying that that registration process could not be authenticated against the NIA's database. Now let's be clear. And I've seen a 2-pager issued by my predecessor, the Honorable Esla Owusu-Ekufo, where she tries to challenge the explanation that was made by His Excellency President Mahama in Sunyani during the reset tour. Let's be very clear. She admits in her statement that there were weaknesses in the system that she developed.
Okay, yes, so that's the first point. It says the 2022-2023 SIM registration was introduced to fix the weak and unreliable 2010-2011 system by linking SIM cards to the Ghana card. The process worked in 2 phases or stages, but was limited because full biometric verification could not be completed due to lack of NIA integration.
So the minister admits that there was no biometric authentication. In her own statement. This is not Sam George. So for those who say that, why do you want to do this? The minister who oversaw the process has just answered the question. Esla Owusu-Ekufo herself has admitted that the process she carried out did not carry out full biometric verification. If she herself, I mean, if the tilapia comes from the bottom of the sea to tell you that the crocodile is sick, you better believe, because they all live on the bottom of the river. So listen, what we're doing today is to cure the failings in the system that was attempted to be done. And why could there be no NIA integration? That's the question we should ask ourselves. Why did Ghanaians queue for 2 years and still we're told that there was no full biometric verification? Simply because somebody wanted to do procurement. It's about procurement.
Is that the only?
The NIA has a system that allows for you to integrate directly with them. So you use their system and you pay for their system. The minister at the time decided that she had a private company that will do the authentication. And the NIA said, we will not do that connection.
Is that what you were told?
It's not what I am told. I have inherited the ministry. That is the reason why the NCA could not. That's why the system that was run by Kelny GVG could not integrate with the NIA. It's as simple, let's call a spade a spade. Since the minister wants to come out and challenge the facts, let's put all the facts out.
That there was a company?
Kelny GVG, she contracted Kelny GVG to run the SIM registration. They put out that app that was only available on Android, and which meant that every iOS or phone could not even use the app. And there was an impasse between her and Kelny GVG on one side and the NIA led by Kenatifa on the other side. And that's why you couldn't have this integration done. So when the minister tells you that she couldn't have biometric integration done, she should have told us the reason why that couldn't have been done. Simply because somebody wanted to do procurement.
Okay. Causing financial loss.
Okay, and that's why Ghanaians were made to queue for 2 years to carry out, for want of a better phrase. And you know, we struggle, but because I believe, and I agree with her on one thing, governance is a continuum. We've looked at it. Look, the people at the NCA, and Alfred, you were at the meeting at the NCA. The NCA is the regulator. In 2021 to 2023, you were in this space. Did the NCA ever meet with the media to give you a briefing like we did last week, or this week, on Tuesday this week? No. The technocrats at the NCA have not changed. In fact, the person who we appointed as Director General was Head of Engineering, Director Engineering under Eslausu. They were sidestepped because they raised critical issues about the processes that were being undertaken. The only difference you have today is you have a government that listens to the intelligence and wisdom of the technocrats there. The technocrats came to me, I asked them, why did the process fail? What were the challenges? Did you raise them? And after I saw all the responses, they came with their issues. And I said to them, this is the policy direction we will take. And I've allowed them go through the process. It's been 1 year of detailed work and collaboration. So Alfred, let's be clear. We will have, and I keep saying it's not a re-registration, it's a registration.
So what? You don't recognize what happened between 2020
Alfred,
and 2023?
There was no legal basis for it.
So there was no legal basis. You had, 30 million SIMs registered, and over 80 already been successfully verified.
Alfred, the 2021 to 2023 registration was done on the back of LI 2111. Now, if anybody can just Google LI 211 because I'm speaking. LI 2111 is not a legislative instrument for SIM registration. It's a legislative instrument for the use of the national identification card, the Ghana card. So the LI 2111, which Eslausu based her registration on, was an LI that Parliament passed stipulating what you can use the Ghana card for. One of the functions, one of about 18 or 19 functions that was spelled out in that LI was the registration of SIM cards. But that in itself was not an LI for the registration of SIM cards. The only LI that Parliament has passed for the registration of SIM cards was an LI in 2010 that Haruna Idrisu presented for the 2010 registration. Now, at that time, you had not had the rollout, nationwide rollout of the Ghana card as you have today. And so at that time, there was multiplicity of documents to be used in that LI for registration of SIM cards. And if you go back and pick my criticism of Eslausu in 2021 to 2023, I asked her to present an LI to Parliament because what she was doing was illegal because the law at the time for registration of SIM cards allowed you to use your NHIS, allowed you to use driver's license, passports, which was actually what we had moved away from. I agree with Esther that we should use one unified document, the Ghana card. But you must have a legislative instrument backing it. As we speak today, we've drafted a new legislative instrument. We've had extensive engagement with the industry, the Chamber of Telecoms. They've made their input. In fact, we've had 4 rounds of inputs by them. And we've said to them that at the end of this month, we'll complete the entire consultations and lay the new LI when Parliament resumes in May. It would go for 21 days. Now, that LI is what will govern the processes so that when you pick the LI, you understand the legal basis. Take, for example, that's why today, foreigners come into our country. You say that people should only register a SIM card with their Ghana card. A foreigner does not have a Ghana card. So when a foreigner comes into the country and is allowed to stay here for 90 days, how do they get a SIM card? That's why you have black market operations, and that's why you have people registering SIM cards for people. But in other jurisdictions, you have a legal framework for what we call tourist SIMs, which are valid and activated for 90 days or on the date of exit from the country, after which those SIMs are churned. We don't have that framework today. Those are some of the things we're dealing with today. That's why when they carried out the SIM registration, and again, Esla also admits to this in her statement she put out. She said that as they carried out the registration, they kept amending and improving the system. Mm-hmm. When you don't have a framework, then you are blown and tossed about by the wind or any wind that blows. So when they were running the system, and then people complained, oh, we have people outside the country. How do they register? Then they quickly came up with an app. Well, the app was only on Android. So if you used an iPhone, you were discriminated against. Don't forget, our constitution says we should not discriminate on the basis of, for example, a software or firmware that your phone uses. But the point we're making here, Alfred, mm-hmm. This registration that's going to start is going to be backed by law. We've worked not just with the NIA. Alfred, we've worked with the NIA to ensure that we have a seamless real-time verification against their database, something that didn't exist the last time. We're working with the Office of Registrar of Companies to now ensure that every business SIM, we are able in real time to identify from the ORC's database who are the directors of that company, and then extrapolate the Ghana card details of the owners of that company and link to all the business SIMs that are registered. We're working with the Ghana Immigration Service to ensure that all passports of foreigners who enter the country, who apply for a registration, were able to see their entry and exit date in real time. So that's another leg of collaboration that's happening. We're working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for all foreign diplomats and staff of foreign embassies in the country who use a foreign ministry issued ID card to also do verification of them in real time. We're also working with multiple state agencies, including the police and all of that, to ensure that the system is robust enough. So this is not...
all of this doesn't happen in the 2021 to 2023 SIM registration?
Alfred, unfortunately, no.
Because ESLA also says over 80% of the about 30 million SIM cards that were registered within that period have already been successfully verified too. That claims that the excise had no value are inconsistent, especially because, and here's the point that said, the current approach uses the same methods.
Alfred, I've just explained the methods and what we are doing. And for those who followed the process, how is it that, I mean, the claim she's making that they follow the same methods is not founded by her own statement. She's saying that what she did not have verification against the NIA database. And I'm telling you that, and at the meeting where we were, I'm not just saying it, the executive secretary of the NIA was present and admitted to the fact that they've worked with us. In fact, for us to get where we've gotten to, and you know, there's a second leg to this whole thing. People say, and Tesla alluded to that again, why don't you just take the 80% that have already been verified? Let's be clear. 30 million SIM cards per her reckoning were registered under her process. What we did was an audit sample of just 2 million. So it is incorrect to say that 80% of the 30 million cards have been verified. Now, we ran a biometric verification on the 2 million sample that we picked randomly. There was 0% fingerprint verification, 0%. None, not even one matched. And that's very simple technology as well. The fingerprints were taken by the NIA using contact means. You put your hand on a device and it captured your fingerprint, just like what the Electoral Commission did. So you remember that whenever we go to vote, what we do is we put our finger on a biometric verification device because it's contact. What ESLA did was, NIA has a contact-based fingerprint system. Then she says, I'm taking photographs of contactless photographs of your fingerprint. You can't match that system anyway. What we then did was we used the facial recognition. Facial recognition was contactless. So we did that match across board. Now, Alfred, what we found out, and again at the meeting at the NCA, we showed you evidence of it. You saw cards that were verified in the 80% that we verified as against the NIS database. When we did further forensic analysis, you realize that 2 registrations have gone through as properly verified because the PIN, the Ghana card number, is the same. But when you pull up the record of the exact Ghana card that was used, you then begin to see disparities. The name on the Ghana card is different. Same Ghana card number, but different first name, different last name on the 2 cards. The height of the person is different. The date of birth of the person is different. Even the photograph of the person on the 2 cards, which have the same Ghana card number, is different. So you realize that one of those cards is a clone. But you see, because you just buy, basically it was, let's all go through, almost like what we saw with the free SHS at the beginning. Everybody just go through. We allowed everybody go through. You now have fraudulent Ghana card registrations that were passed through into the system. And that's why we cannot say that everybody who is on the existing system just go on. We need to do a fresh liveliness test. And Alfred, this is where the catch is. In this studio, if I look across, everybody here is holding a smartphone. It means that everybody in this studio has no business queuing to register their SIM card. Because what's going to happen is that I'm using an Android. I see that Prof is using Prof Akosia. I'm using an Android, but Prof Akosia, Kofi,
Me too.
and are all using Apple.
Yeah.
Are all using iOS. We have a system that is now available on both Play Store and iOS, Android and iOS. Now you download the app. When you download the app asks you, and you can use either the app or USSD. It asks you to enter your Ghana card number. Once you enter your Ghana card number, in real time, it pulls up the biometrics against the NIA database. And then once you're using the app, it will ask you to do a liveliness test. And for those of you who use modern day banking, even when not, forget modern day banking, when you bought your phone, if you want to use your face to unlock your phone, when you buy a new phone, your face is scanned by your phone with your camera. It will tell you to turn your face, turn it around, and that's the same thing you're going to do. It's just going to ask you to verify your face. It will take the contours of your face, match it in real time against what the NIA holds.
I see.
Once that is matched, it allows you to register the SIM that you are talking, the SIM that is in your device. Then it makes you choose that SIM, or whichever SIM it is, the first one, as your primary number. You lock that in as your primary number, and what we do at the back end is we register that SIM and also register the device on which that registration has been done. We pull the IMEI and match both together. So now we've matched your SIM card, your Ghana card, and your phone IMEI in one device. That's completely different from what Esla Usu did. This is the first time we're having 3 systems matching to identify that individual. Now, maybe Kofi has a second number. So Kofi wants to register that number. When Kofi tries to register that number, we will send an OTP to Kofi's primary number, which we have verified, to be sure that it is Kofi who is doing that registration. Because if someone picks your Ghana card and tries to register, because you have your Ghana card is now linked to your SIM card, it will send the OTP automatically to that number. So that person will not be able to register. So the issue of ghost SIMs would now be reduced or completely removed. Now, what this allows us to do is it allows us to deal with the issue of Momo fraud decisively. Today, what's the cost of Momo fraud? 10 Ghana cedis. Why do I say the cost of Momo fraud is 10 cedis? If you report a number and we investigate and that number is engaged in Momo fraud, we block the number. But how much is a new SIM? 10 Ghana cedis. The person buys a new SIM, throws out the old SIM, puts it in his phone and continues. But now with the CEIR, the Central Equipment Identity Register that we're building, and linking the IMEIs to the SIM, when your number is reported, don't forget that SIM has been linked to an IMEI of a device. That device is blocked. It then means that to use if you go and get a new SIM, you need a new phone, because now your phone has become a piece of plastic. We will block it across all the networks, because today, even if we decided to even block it, there was no way to block it across all networks. So people just migrate from one network to another to commit the fraud. Now we can block you across all SIM. So your device and the SIM increases the cost for the fraudster. It means he needs to find some 2,000-3,000 to buy a new phone. Now beyond that, because we have your Ghana
it doesn't eliminate mobile money fraud completely.
It raises the bar. But then beyond that, if a number linked to a Ghana card is found to have a second report, so for example, the person has registered 2 SIMs on that Ghana card. The first one is flagged in Momo fraud. We block it. He uses the second number. Once we have a second one, we don't just block your device now, we also block your Ghana card. Now, if we block your Ghana card, it means that you cannot access any other service in the country with a Ghana card. Don't forget, your Ghana card is now your TIN number.
Unless you report yourself.
You have to report yourself to the police. You cannot get your health insurance renewed. You cannot get your driver's license renewed. You can't access your banking. So, for anybody engaged in mobile money fraud, what we are doing is making it a very expensive venture that ultimately, when your Ghana card is blocked, because now we've done the direct verification and our systems are speaking, once we flag you and block you on our NCA system, the NIA does same to you, you are deprived of accessing any government services across the whole spectrum. That becomes a deterrent. That is the way you fight fraud. And that's why we're doing what we're doing. The people who will have to show up are persons who have challenges with their ability to do the registration. And we expect that to be a minimal number. And even with that, we're expecting it to be on a booking basis. So the way you book for your passport or you book for a visa, using USSD code, all the telcos are going to open mobile shops and you book an appointment. So you are not going to have 1,000 people show up at a shop because if you go there based on your appointment. Apart from that, the ministry is converting all our post offices across the country. And Ghana Post has a huge footprint across the country in rural communities. Yeah. We're opening up self-service centers and assisted service centers in all our centers. Don't forget that part of the biggest problem people had in 2021 was you had only 60% of the country having Ghana cards. Today, you have over 90%. But at that time, there were only 7 centers nationwide that were issuing Ghana cards. 7. Today, you have 294. So anybody who needs a Ghana card, and what we are doing even with our mobile teams is working with the NIA, we're embedding NIA registration teams with our mobile teams. So when you go into a community, the mobile team is there, they register the Ghana card for you, they register your SIM for you, and you move on. So this is a completely different process. I can appreciate the Honorable Eslawusu Ekufu's discomfort in the fact that, people were put through a lot of hassle, and it amounted to nothing. But the facts are the facts. But you see, if she herself has admitted that there was no biometric verification, we need to have a database that's biometrically verified.
Zwento, I'm going to come to you, but there are quite a number of messages. Dr. Alfred Appiah is a data scientist. He says, good morning, Alfred. I want to find out from the minister. When I last watched him address the matter, he explained that they were conducting a validation of the biometric data previously collected against the NIA database. At the time, he indicated that 80% of that exercise had been completed and that many subscribers would not need to resubmit their biometric information. What is the current status?
I think I've answered that in my response already. I've answered that by elucidating what the process is. And again, I stated that we did an audit based on 2 million we took a sample size to do the audit. And that audit established for us the challenges with even those that went through the fake documentation that was used to do the previous registration. Right. And that's the reason why everybody needs to do it. But that's why we put convenience and comfort of the customer above any other policy consideration, and then ensure that now you can sit at home with your smartphone and do your own device registration.
I see, and this is another point that Eslawusu Ekufu makes, that overall, yes, the exercise in concedes was not perfect, but created a solid foundation that should be improved rather than dismissed, based on what you're having now.
You see, the challenge here is you cannot build on a flawed foundation.
So this entire process was flawed between 2021 and 2023?
The entire process, why we're all asked to get a Ghana card and queue, was to ensure biometric verification. Listen, the entire 2021 to 2023, the reason why we couldn't continue with the 2010 registration was because we were supposed to get biometric verification of our SIM cards against the NIA. Eslawusu has admitted that in the registration she did between 2021 to 2023, there was no biometric verification. So how do we build on a flawed foundation? The woman herself has admitted that, yes, I did some registration, but her registration clearly was not different from the 2010 to 2011 one, which we all agreed was problematic. The only difference was in 2010, people used multiple national IDs. In 2022, they used one national ID. But the reason for doing this was not about using one ID. It was about using one ID that you could verify biometrically. So the fundamental basis of the registration was biometric verification. If biometric verification did not happen, we can't work on the basis of that. So unfortunately, yes, it was a good attempt. But you see, this is how and we've got a lecturer here, they'll tell you, good attempt, but you missed the point.
See, Mr. Bento, I'm bringing on this particular point because of this is a policy matter. It was a policy that was implemented within a particular period, and the gaps that have been identified, some acknowledged, and then what is going to be done now to address those specific issues. There's the indication that this is one that we will not have to do again. In fact, that's quite a number of the messages I've got on that path, that what is the assurance that this is going to be the last SIM registration?
If we're able to
another
get
minister
the
will not come and say, okay, Sam George didn't do it well, and he presided over
Alfred,
this
one thing
lapses.
I can agree with Eslawusu on is the fact that we need a SIM registry that is biometrically verified. Because that's the only way you can say you have a proper SIM register that allows you to identify who owns the SIM. Biometric verification. Now, if you have a system today, which she herself admits did not have biometric verification, if we are able to do it now and do biometric verification, there should be no reason.
Why didn't you do it at the first effort?
Well, I won't answer. Esla, and I explain to you.
President Mills time.
In 2010, 2011, when Haruna tried it, you did not have the Ghana card there at the time. They had not started rolling out nationwide at the time. You had the first attempt to roll out Ghana cards in Professor Mills' time. A few people had their Ghana cards done.
NIA was there.
NIA was there, but you had less than 15% of the country.
But we could have done it.
Kofi, but that airline allowed for the Ghana card to be used, but allowed for the passport, allowed for driver's license, allowed for birth certificates, multiplicity of identification. And Kofi, that led us to a challenge of being able to do the verification of all those multiple documents.
You see, at that time, we could have done the fingerprint biometric verification against the SIM card. So, see, yes, it's a policy matter. This runs behind the NIA thing, which we have been very involved in at Imani. You have received some of our letters concerning this, your exercise.
Yes, I have.
Yes, and we had a few interactions. You responded to a few of the things, and I have the task to decide where we're going to go, what we're going to do a third time. And from day one, poor us, with our small staff, could say this is what should be done more than 10 years ago. And we go through the stresses we've gone through, and today, Sam George says, I'm going to do it the way we said we're going to do it. Tomorrow, will somebody come and say there's a new design of something, want to do something again? Well, what are we dealing with? Okay, so I simply want to make the first point that, look, when sometimes the ultimate solution is suggested, because it's a public thing, okay, it may be useful to, I don't want to sound like you should listen to us, but what you are saying is what we're saying more than 10 years ago. And now we are back.
So then you should support us, because then we're agreeing with you.
It's not like we don't support you. We say this should have happened. I'm talking about policy.
No, but Kofi,
hold on.
I wasn't minister when you did your first policy.
I'm not talking about
President
you.
Mahama was not president.
It was at Mills.
Yes.
Okay. So there was a government.
Okay.
No.
And so we have problems.
No,
that
you are thinking differently. I am talking policy. Hold on.
You see, I think we should forward looking at people.
Okay. What I'm trying to explain is government is a continuum.
Yes.
All right. I've said policy is strategy for achieving social goals and whatever it is. And I'm saying 10 years ago, if you look at it objectively without anything, no procurement, whatever it is, it was clear to us what should have been done. We voiced it, we engaged people on it. Okay. We've had all these fights, all those other things. Now, I'm happy he's saying some of the things we were saying 10 years ago. I'm saying, why have we had to put our people through this? Okay, and now we are going to do so. I am not criticizing you. I am saying we could have avoided this and made some progress. That's one. Two, what you are trying to do, we are happy with it because a lot of it agrees with what we're trying to say, okay? But we also want to make sure, for instance, who will be the custodian of this information?
NCA.
Okay, that's a problem for us. Okay, we have set up a national identification authority. It's not a board, it's not a commission, it's not anything, it's an authority. Now, that should be the single place where all national identification and related matters should be reposed. And anybody who needs it goes there and picks it from there. Then you have one place where everybody picks from. NCA can have
I just respond?
I'm coming.
Okay.
NCA can have its connection to it. SNIT can have its connection to it. DVLA can have its connection to it. If somebody has a problem, they go there, they sort it out, that kind of thing. So if you have an NCA one, well, NIA also have its own, because the Ghana card has a biometric aspect to it. When you have two databases, there is potential of conflict. Okay, so I'm saying this is so far the better or maybe the best effort yet. We had a fight with ESLA. Okay, now I'm just pointing out that maybe please.
I want
You are doing politics. Me, I'm doing my work. See, hold on.
So far,
hold
this
on.
is what.
Look, I think there are a few things that we can do, or some judge can do, to make it unnecessary for us to go through this again.
Okay.
And then in future, if we have to do anything else, we just add to this. And one of the things is the principle that we must have a single silo and a single national database for some fundamental information like biometrics. And that place should be the NIA. Okay, and then there are about 7 different cards in this country.
Not the NCA.
It shouldn't be the NCA. It shouldn't be the NCA. Okay, so for me, I'm trying not to, but our engagement is not that. Like I said, I'm taxed now, working with some other CSO to engage you more. And if you didn't want to, then we're going to fight it out. But I kind of want you to go ahead, but can you pick some of these little things? You're going to say something about the point about the single side. Yes, let me hear you on that.
The NIA will remain and remains by law our single source of truth for all biometric verification. What the NCA is developing is a SIM registry. Now, the NCA is also an authority, just like the NIA. Don't forget, it's the National Communications Authority. It's the single authority and regulator over the telecom space.
Telecoms, yes.
The SIM registry is not an identity issue. It's a telecom issue. That is what you are suggesting will mean that because all banking transactions also need a Ghana card, then the Bank of Ghana can no longer hold the regulatory data it holds for banks. All of that should also go to NIA.
That's not what I'm saying, but you go ahead.
So, but that's basically what the SIM registry is.
What I'm
because
saying,
you see, when there is a challenge on a SIM card, the report does not go to the NIA. The report goes to the regulator of the telecom space, which is the NCA. The NCA must have its own database of all SIMs and all equipment, telephone equipment.
Agreed.
So we are not building a parallel database to the NIA. If we were, we would not be needing the NIA for verification. We would have been collecting our own biometrics and saying we are now storing our own biometrics and holding it. No, the NIA remains our single source of truth. However, for the purposes of the function of the NCA as a regulator of the telecom space, when issues of Momo fraud come up, issues of device theft come up, and things that are related to telecoms, you cannot be referring that to the National Identification Authority. It will come to the NCA, and the NCA must have this database, which again will be stored at the National Data Center with NITA.
Okay, so cool. I think we agree, but there's a view.
So that's what I'm saying. That
I hear you.
Of what we are doing,
Let me just
we need a bit of clarity on that.
Yes.
Yes.
So we are agreeing, but maybe So what it means is this: the NIA has my biometrics.
Yes.
The NIA is the authority on biometrics.
Yes.
Now, if I want to register my SIM card, therefore,
yes,
what should happen is I go and I say, this is my number A, B, C, D, E.
Yes.
And I put my hand on the NCA machine to check my fingerprint. Hold on.
Yes.
When I put my hand there, that fingerprint should hit
NIA's database. Yes.
And then tell NCA that this is correct. So you don't need to keep a database per se. I'm coming.
The database we are keeping is not of your fingerprints. It's of the registration.
Teleco. Again, good. So I'm saying that this my SIM card belongs to a telco.
Yes.
The telco does not need to keep my biometrics.
Nobody's keeping your biometrics.
Hold on. Yeah, I mean, you see, we are clarifying.
Okay.
Okay. It just says that if you are the person with this number, okay, then what we are seeing here in terms of your fingerprint must correspond with what is at NIA.
Yeah.
So there's a certain linkage.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe ask some of the people here. The communication has sounded as if we are going to collect all those things again and keep it in NCA. And I'm making the point that when you have those two things, there will be conflict. And there should be one source of truth. Okay, and I'm saying there are 7 different institutions or so, all of which must do this thing. And they are all fighting to keep their own data, including EC. So
Kofi, let me
if
just
you are clarifying that this is what is
Alfred,
going to be, then we are making progress.
Yes, so Alfred, and I'm happy Kofi's raised this for the benefit of our public. The NCA, through this registration process, is not going to be collecting any biometrics.
I see.
In fact, we're not doing so because the NIA has both fingerprint and facial recognition. That's what we're doing, facial. And today, if you even look at the NIA is currently doing some recruitment of temporary staff. What of your face? It's matched against the NIA's database. The NIA confirms that it's been done. Then what happens is the NCA now stores your name and your SIM number and your IMEI on its database, not your biometrics. Your biometrics still remain at the NIA. And another thing we're doing at the ministry, which is the data harmonization bill, which is going to Parliament, is going to help us deal with the silos you're talking about. We're building a national data exchange hub.
Interoperability.
That will then allow interoperability of all data sets and data silos via API. I don't want to do it today by ministerial letter. So we're going to Parliament to have Parliament pass a legislation that mandates every data holder, biometric data processor, to submit it to that national repository, and we can then do cross-referencing in real time by API calls. So we're going to where you're talking about to deal with the interoperability of all of our data silos. But on this process, we are not going to hold any biometric data. We're only going to match in real time. And that's why I said there's a lot that we've listened to you.
I hear you.
We've read extensively your critique of all the processes. We've picked all the salient points in them, and we've tried to address them by law.
Okay, just this one too, please, I beg.
Hold on.
I was on the floor. But let me deal with it.
Because you mentioned court, I just want to clarify. There's a message about a particular Supreme Court ruling.
There's a recent court ruling that has just been done.
This is the Goni versus Vodafone Attorney General and the NCA. 25th of February 2026. There is a lawyer who has just sent this, taking into consideration this recent ruling. He says, as we prepare for this registration, this is what the Supreme Court has very recently said about the right to privacy related to such registrations. Are you considering this particular court?
I've referred the ruling. In fact, the NCA has applied to the court for the full judgment so that we can study it. But again, I believe and I'm confident that our process would apply and fall in tandem with the law. Because don't forget, to register, for you to go through the registration, you submit to go through the registration. There are terms and conditions. So you have your rights of privacy. So you use, it's your permission to do the registration. However, don't forget that yes, you have your right of privacy. The state also has a right to the use of technology and spectrum. So if the state says to be able to use the spectrum resources of the state through a telco to make a phone call, you need to be biometrically verified for the purposes of public safety and national security. If you think that for your own privacy rights, you don't want to subject yourself to that, nobody will force you to do that. But it means that you will not have access to use the state spectrum to make a phone call.
There is a different line to that.
Point.
And a different line to that. Oh, please, there was a point I was going to make about the facial. But on this, because you brought it up, that is the problem with Kelny GVG. That is the issue we went to court on. That you are introducing a third party into the notes of the telcos, who you by contract have taken their information which you by law must keep private. So when you introduce a third party to the notes where they have that access, then you are compromising my privacy, all right? And those things have still not been dealt. Is Kelny DVD still working? Are they still in those notes?
Relative to SIM registration?
No. It's
the
this
common
ruling.
Platform, or the common platform.
This ruling is what brought it up, because there were similar issues we took to court in Kelny GVG. But so you can answer that. But on my substantive issue concerning the facial recognition, you see, it is a fact that when it comes to identification, fingerprints are better than facial recognition. We've gone through that with EC many times now. The fingerprint system also happens to be cheaper, okay, which we already have and can build on. You are going to do the facial recognition sitting at the NCA, which is fine. But you have a situation where people's faces change. I can tell you that there are two people in my house. Their faces open each other's phones. All right. So when you have a better system like the fingerprint system that you can build on, okay, why should we spend money to use the facial recognition system, which we know for a fact actually can create more problems than it solves? Okay. I mean, it's your prerogative, but I'm asking, I can see the problems it will create. Why I'm saying so is that if we spend more money building the NIA, okay, we will not need the facial recognition. So I would rather say, going back to the original point, that we should really focus on NIA, build it very strong, build the pipes very strong, and make sure that, look, everybody has, you know, the thing, you put it
so
down, and that's it.
In responding to this,
quickly.
You use fingerprint verification for electoral commission, but that's why when you vote, you have to get a biometric verification device everywhere. It then means, if you want to do the fingerprint, because the fingerprint is contact, not contactless, it means that all 30 million will have to physically go and do the verification.
With your post offices, like you said.
No, so then you're now introducing the cost element of having to buy biometric verification devices for all of the centers. That in itself is a new cost element you haven't averted your mind to. We've actually been trying to see if we could get the Electoral Commission to loan us their verification devices so that the way they are in every polling station, there are all the issues about.
No, I'm agreeing with you. What I'm saying is, so that is where the investment should go. So we use it for elections, and the post offices are all over the place.
Well,
you should have it everywhere.
In today's country, if you ask me, the cost of having to buy biometric verification devices, a fresh set of biometric devices, if we can still do facial recognition, which Kofi is way better.
Respectfully, you are making it
way better.
It's just a fingerprint identification. It's a small thing.
All right.
Private entities have it. Let's invest in the right things once and for all.
Kofi,
not everybody has a smartphone.
Thank you. And they will use USSD. But Kofi, a private entity, how many people are they going to process?
No. I'm saying government.
Thank you very much.
Let's not.
I don't want to be drawn into procurement of biometric verification devices. If I can get people to use their own devices to do a biometric verification.
We've gone too technical, so I'll leave it here.